The San Jose Sharks fall 4-2 against the Nashville Predators. They've got the new jersey going on, but is it cursed already? We'll talk about that and more after this. But first, if you want to be a part of the show and join the Chompversation, chat with us and fellow Sharks fans across the page or the app. Checking us out on the YouTube chat, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Reddit, Discord, all the shenanigans going down at the TikToks, and all that and more at tealtownusa.com. Of course, if you want to help support the pod and get Eric new internet, over at Venmo, it's at Teal Town USA. That joke will never get old. It'll always be our thing. Puck guy, I love you. but I love to rip on your internet. But anyhow, I'm happy to have my lovely co-host Dana May with me. How are you doing this evening, Dana?
I'm okay. I got to watch 2 hockey games tonight. Both times my team lost. I was at the Crunch game. I have Crunch merch now.
Very cool. I mean, that's always been one of the cooler names in the AHL. I like the Crunch, and the other one I like is like the Lake Erie Monsters. That's those are cool. Or the Admirals. Those are always cool with the little skull admiral.
And then you've got the friggin' Belleville Senators. That's how they played tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, right? I mean, it's like, how much boring could you get with a name? But anyhow, well, we got a game to kind of break down and talk about. I don't know if we really want to do that, but, you know, our Sharkies end up losing 4-2 tonight. And, you know, one of those games in which you say, look, the Nashville Predators definitely have more talent. They have more structure. They're the better team coming in hotter, and you would expect them to win. I think the Sharks did a pretty good job of showing up. I think that there's still a lot we can talk about as far as picking apart the game. But in that first period, you know, kind of starting a little bit slower. You know, it was kind of, again, we've been seeing, and I've been using this term probative, but it very like feeling out. There's a feeling out process with every Sharks game, I feel like. It's like the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
They don't really know what the other team's going to do, and they let the other teams kind of dictate play. What did you see in that first half of the first period, Dana?
A lot of just guys skating around aimlessly. But yeah, I mean, good teams hit the ground running, make the most of that first period. And like, yeah, you know, they were able to get some production later in the game, but it was just kind of too late. The game was won by Nashville in the first period, basically.
Yeah, and you know, kind of furthering that, the Nashville Predators would end up getting on the board at 10-14. Kiefer Sherwood with his 6th goal of the year. Michael McCarron and Roman Josi getting the assist there. Of course, Josi's always in the scoring plays.
Yeah, they declared him like the player of the game or something like midway through the first period. I love when they do those sponsored things and they're like, wow, that was the save of the game, and it's 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah,
like,
right.
There's an even better save.
Or the Toyota turning points of the game, or whatever the hell that they have. And, you know, Sleepy Mofo, thank you for chiming in. You know, long timer. Was it me, or has the season been where the team has had poor communication? At this point of the year, you should all be on the same page playing this many games with each other. And I totally agree. We looked at we looked at a team that was just feeling out the Nashville Predators. They didn't have a cohesive game to push forward. We've seen this all year.
The Sharks are missing Hurdle and Cooch right now.
And it shows.
Missing Cooch for most of the season, except for a few games. But without Hurdle, even like.
It's your most skilled player.
So real with you guys, like there is like I'm only motivated to watch the game because I know I'm covering it. Like it's been a little rough.
Yeah, I mean it's been rough because of the lack of talent. It's been rough because it seems like whatever plan they're trying to implement within their own zone, they're not able
They're
to
trying to
execute.
survive.
Yeah,
Just
this
like
that's what the
get to the
team.
trade deadline.
Yeah, exactly. Get to the trade deadline with as many points as you can to try and get out of here. That's what it looks like. And mind you, where the Sharks are with the talent pool and what they've got coming up, this is where they should be, right? It's just we have lamented and really we saw this coming many years ago. And we, I think collectively as Sharks fans feel that this process should have started 2 to 3 years ago.
Yeah. I would agree, but I also think like, you know, I do feel that Doug Wilson put together a lot of teams that had like, oh my God, how am I trying to phrase this? He put together teams that could have won the whole thing. Um, and that's all you can ask for. And so, you know, you have teams like Chicago where like, you know, they're dumpster fire now. Obviously, they have lots of other skeletons in their closet, but like no, you know, Chicago fans aren't mad about the team being bad because they won a bunch of cups, you know? Okay, that's the price you pay. I think I feel like I'm like, you know, if some butts and or candies and nuts, but you know, we had many years, over a decade of teams that most years had a really good chance at the cup and maintaining that. And like, it's just kind of how it goes, you know. But we've been a little bit spoiled. And just these past years, we've had to really learn what it feels like to be a dumpster fire team again. You know, for those people like me who until the last few years don't remember a time when the Sharks were consistently bad. Like I just straight up don't. The Sharks were always good when I was a kid. So, you know, things could have gone differently, but we were always going to end up here, and it's not fun.
No, it's not fun because now
So
we're starting.
that's
I mean,
my little spiel.
no, just to piggyback off of that, now we're in the point of the rebuild where we're looking at some of our favorite players might being shipped off for pieces and futures that could help the team going forward. So a guy like Mario Ferraro, who we all really liked when he came up, I mean, we feel that there's a good player there. He's a good, solid defenseman, especially if he's on the right team with the right structure. This is a guy who we've kind of pegged as a future captain as far as what kind of intangibles he has and the kind of character that he has. And now we're looking at seeing him have to vacate because the team is just not in a winning arc to where they can carry a player of his age and expect him to be able to grow with this next wave. I think he's a few years off of these younger cats. So unfortunately, you know, it kind of dictates him having to maybe be the biggest piece that they could trade. Now, I've also heard, you know, rumblings about Couture, and I've heard rumblings about, you know, potentially Duclair.
Are there teams that want Couture? Like,
I think if there was if they're willing to retain salary, I think maybe salary is going to be the name of the game with him.
Yeah, I mean, from the Sharks, God, that's a really tricky one. But like, if I'm just any team with, you know, cup aspirations, like, why am I gonna trade for this guy in his, like, how old is Couture? Mid-30s.
Yeah. Who could probably
who's been injured most of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it might even look like
a younger player who, you know, I might they might help me this year, or maybe even, you know, help me in the future. Like, I'll be very surprised if Couture gets moved. Put it that way. Not because of the Sharks not wanting to move him, which I think obviously, like, you're never gonna take it lightly, considering trading your captain or someone who's been with like the organization as long as he has. But I think from another team's perspective, I would be more surprised that the other team was willing to commit.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and getting back into the game, and I think it's a perfect segue. In
Yeah.
that second,
Oh yeah, there was a game.
in the second period, Philip Forsberg, would end up getting his 27th goal of the year on the power play, and Novak and Nyquist getting the assist. But why I bring up Philip Forsberg is a perfect kind of analogy for what the Sharks would love to get out of Couture, right? Remember, Martin Erat was traded to the Washington Capitals when they were going on one of their runs when Ovi was just hot as the sun as far as goal scoring goes. And Martin Erat was traded for Philip Forsberg. And look at what he has become for that team. And I think you nail it spot on. What team is going to want to give up an asset like a young forward who has the potential to bust out and to be, the next Philip Forsberg? I think all GMs really, I mean, they probably look at that E-rat for Philip Forsberg and show it as the model of what not to do with a young forward, because I feel like that one was just so one-sided of a trade. I mean, E-rat didn't amount to anything. His playoff play was horrible. And then it seemed like Philip Forsberg just burst onto the scene the next year and could not be kept in the AHL. So, yeah, I think that, again, that's kind of where most GMs will kind of be trigger shy with a guy like Logan. Now, a guy like a guy like Tomas, he might generate some more interest, but again,
my brain is unwilling to even.
I know. I don't even, I hate the fact that I'm even talking about it. He's my favorite player. I mean, I've got him hanging up right there. And, I've watched him since Czechia, and I was there or watching live with the 4-goal game and, watched, him progress through his career. And, he's a really, really special player. I mean, between him and Marleau are the two biggest forwards that I, kind of tracked from youngin to full stardom.
When he signed his contract, he knew the Sharks would be bad for a few years at least, and that what he was signing on to was not, oh, I'm going to go win a cup in the next year or two, but I'm going to be on a bad team, but I'm going to have a established leadership role, and as an assistant captain, but potentially full captain at some point. And I'm going to mentor younger players. This was not none of this should be a surprise. So I don't know, it's difficult for me to wrap my head around because nothing has happened. No big change has been made to the Sharks sort of trajectory since long before he signed that contract. So,
but I will say this, though, because Greer kind of almost sold us a false narrative when he took on the reins. He said that this team is a lot closer than people think.
No one believed that.
I mean, who knows what he was telling,
okay.
Who knows what he was telling Tomas when they're signing their deal. Or, I mean, Joe Will was the one who signed Tomas's deal, but who knows what they said? Maybe it's like, okay, well, maybe we'll bottom out for 2 years, get first overall for a couple times, and then we'll be back.
That could still technically happen.
It could, but again, I mean, Father Time is ticking down on both players, and I'm just wondering now, we're looking at how bad this team is and looking at potentially being 2 to 3 years out before really contending, at least as far as contending for wild card spot. So if you're already looking at 2 to 3 years just at the wild card, you're at least looking at 4 to 5 before you're really contending for a cup at the best. So 5 years down the road, Hertl will only have 3 years left on his deal. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, does that maximize the value for him? I mean, I don't know. That's what the Sharks are going to have to deal with at the trade deadline on, what assets, they can what medium-term assets they can move that's not part of the future. It'll just be really interesting because I think the trade deadline will tell us a lot about where the team is at. I hope.
Brings us back to the game.
Yeah, it does bring us back to the game. So in that third period, the Sharks would play their best period of hockey. Mikael Granlund getting a goal 1:10 in, and just a nice top corner with Ty Emberson helping out on the back end. And again, just some good work cleaning up garbage in the front of the net. And that's the kind of goals that this team has to score right now. I mean, Dana, what'd you see in the third period that was kind of working for them a little bit better than what we saw in those first two periods?
I think they kind of figured out Saros a little bit more. And I feel like, yeah, I mean, he hasn't been the best this season, but he's still a really good goaltender. And, yeah, I think, like you said, they were kind of like feeling things out in the beginning, and they didn't play bad enough that they weren't going to score at least a few goals. Yeah, Granlund swooped in, saw his opportunity. Did he go 5-hole?
No, it was top.
No,
left
you
corner.
you literally said top shelf. I'm sorry, guys. Is it one here? Yes, it is 107. I've had a very long day.
Yeah. I think, like you had said, kind of figuring out Saros, but I think also too figuring out the forecheck a little bit more from the Predators. They were able to break the puck out a little bit nicer in that third period, so I felt like there was a little bit better movement, and they kind of figured out how to.
Very too little, too late.
Exactly. That's exactly how I would put it, because it seemed like the effort finally came in that third, but I was like, where was the rest of this, guys? I mean, like, you look down at the shots on goal, and it's just disturbing, like how you can go from. Let me just pull them up right here. You can have, 25 to 35 shots, and if we look at that breaking down by period, in that first period, I mean, the Sharks just got completely caved in. And then going from there into the second, again, it kind of bears out that they're getting caved in. And it's not really till that third period that they start to put some consistent pressure on the net.
Yeah.
But even still, Kiefer Sherwood would come back at 3 minutes and 40 seconds and just, put a dagger in the comeback hope. You had Carrier getting the assist there. And again, it's like a third line type goal. And when you get a third liner type, chipping in a couple of goals in the evening, and you kind of break the back of the Sharks, because it's like, look, our third line's going to score on your second or first line, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
It's just gotta be demoralizing.
No, also worth noting, I was just kind of like looking through like Sharks Twitter. I had forgotten that Nashville had no power plays in the first period. The Sharks did have 2 opportunities. So the fact that the shot clock was as like lopsided as it was, extra concerning.
Well, and it goes back to the defense. Remember, I was telling you, it's just a lack of a defensive system, and just not being able to front pucks, not being able to really have a system that helps shot suppression. Again, their system just lends itself to being dictated to and letting the play come to them.
Also, correcting myself. Sorry, the shots were actually even after 1. They were lopsided after 2.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And again, the Sharks would put up a good fight, because they had Philip Zadina would come in and get a goal at 9:34 in the third. So it got the score to 3-2, and Jan Ruda getting the assist there. And it seemed like, again, the Sharks finally started to add a little bit more pressure once they felt like, okay, maybe we can come back on Saros. We have a little bit of confidence now. But I would say right after the goal, I would say for the next 4 minutes, so probably, the next 3 to 4 shifts, the Sharks looked like they were pushing, looked like they were the stronger team. And then Nashville just completely shut it down again, and really played as if, they wanted to win 3-2. You end up getting a lucky empty netter at the end of the game at 1948. Nyquist getting his 14th of the year, and
Of course.
and Forsberg on the assists there. So, it seemed at the last 5 minutes of the third period, the game there was no doubt that the Predators were going to win. And and again, we want this team to be bad, set us up for the draft. But you need to lose in good ways. I think tonight was
fun bad.
Yeah.
I'm smacking the fun bad button. Let next season be the year of full fun bad, or good, but probably fun bad.
Yeah, and they're not even fun bad. So I don't at this point, they are what they are. At this point, we just need to bottom out and go into next season with a clear understanding of what the weaknesses are of the team. Need to really focus on communicating on the back end and developing a defensive system in which the team can all buy into, forwards and defensemen, and start teaching good habits. I mean, it's I know it's fundamentals and I know it's kind of cliche, but the team doesn't look cohesive through the neutral zone. It doesn't look cohesive in its own end. They're missing passes. They don't know what to do, when to drop it back to the point or when to take a shot. There's indecision. Again, it's just the same things over and over again. And look, talent disparage. I totally agree. But the Coyotes played some really good defensive hockey with some really crappy teams. So that's all I kind of have to say about that. But go ahead, Dana.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of same thing over and over, we forgot to open the can of worms of LeBanc being scratched, but thankfully Felix came in with a quote from Quinn.
I've got it up on. Yeah, I've got it up on. A lot of things.
There. I can't pick one of them. He'll be back in. You do. Like, why is this man still on the team? Why, after all these years, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Trade him for a bag of pucks. Let him just try it somewhere else. Okay.
And Jesse L, weaknesses? What strengths do we even have?
No, see, that's a good point.
Thank you, Felix, for doing some yeoman's work on the call. We really appreciate the quotes. I mean, look, here's Quinn, and it kind of just sums it up. Quinn on the team's effort. I thought we did that. We gave an effort. We kept hanging around, got down 2-0, and then made it 2-1. Give up a goal. If we're talking about effort and moral victories at this point, that tells me that maybe it's not the right teacher for the classroom. Mm-hmm. And I hate to scapegoat him. I really do. I just don't see enough growth. I just see the continuation of last year and the year before. I don't know that helps any of the prospects that the team already has to develop into something more than what he can provide X's and O's wise.
Yeah, it's just I feel like it's hard for me to even evaluate Quinn as a coach because he's been handed such a garbage team. I can't even, I have trouble even saying how much of it is him versus the roster. What's the percentage breakdown, because it would take a hell of a coach to make it, players on a team in this situation be motivated, but we're just treading water. There just needs to be a warm body to be the coach, someone with a pulse.
Yeah. That's kind of how it feels. But I mean, I guess I just think about, how the Coyotes never really had a great team. and they always kind of had Dave Tippett's style where it's just so maddening to play against and so defensively strong that you could afford to be bad or be kind of crappy and still have really good defensive awareness, defensive instinct, that you could confidently raise a player in that system and know that he would be defensively responsible by the time the coach is done there. And I think about Barry Trotz doing the same thing. I think about the current coach in New Jersey right now. I can't remember who it was.
Lindy Ruff.
Well, no, not. I'm sorry.
Did he get fired? I'm sorry, guys. I have.
I thought it was I thought it was one of Trotz's assistants. But I could be wrong. He could have.
God, usually I'm so good about knowing this kind of trivia.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's still Lindy Ruff.
Oh, it's still Lindy Ruff. Okay, no. But I mean, even Lindy's system though is very defensively responsible.
Lindy. Oh, are they switching back to Fire Lindy now?
Yeah, right. But again, there are coaches that can make a defensively aware team and a place in which a prospect can grow. I mean, it's clear that the Barracuda right now probably not a great developmental pipeline. So where do you develop kids in which they're put in positions to do well and put into position where they can have good habits be formed? Can't do it in the A. The NHL, I mean, we see how the garbage fire is going here. Where do you just leave them on their junior teams and leave them on their college teams for as long as you can? And I guess you just have them come through the Barracuda. Hopefully next season you get a little bit more of a developmental style of coach. But it's kind of a hope and a prayer at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. That on a team of any caliber, any individual player can be defensively responsible and at least not, flop and make it worse, even if they're not contributing. I don't know if David Quinn is the person for that, but there's just, it's just like an amalgamation of there's just nothing good right now. And so, as opposed to even a mediocre team, what are the good parts and what are the bad parts. And so, you can always point to things and it's just so much right now.
Yeah.
So much.
It really is. I mean, it really is. I just look at how bad the Kings were, right? And how they kind of retooled and they have a coach in which he has a system that can be defensively responsible, and so you could hold on to that while you were being bad. I just don't see that with this staff. And
if only that coach would come coach the Sharks.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wait.
I mean, and we got a couple people saying Ryan Warsofsky, and I would like to see him get his shot at the head coach position. But is he the right developmental coach? Again, I don't have the answers to that. I feel like because the team is so devoid in talent, there really is the chicken or the egg syndrome.
Yeah. Has no one snatched up Jay Woodcroft?
Not yet.
That is interesting.
Jay is a good communicator with kids.
With the Sharks,
yeah, he was a assistant with Todd on Todd's staff.
Did something happen in Edmonton? Because everyone was so surprised about that firing, and then they were like, "How is this going to fix the Oilers?" And then they get a new coach, and they're fixed.
Well, it was that losing streak, right, at the beginning of the season, where they were they had lost 10 in a row or something. Mm-hmm. And I think, honestly, Edmonton, even though it's not Toronto, it's still in Canada, and they have laser focus on all the off-ice stuff and the direction of the team. And so I think it was just getting so bad, and the echo chamber is so loud there, especially because McDavid's there, that it's like this team shouldn't be in a 10-game losing streak with Connor McDavid. So
Yeah.
But anyhow, Dana, I think we're just about out of time. I think we're at a cool 30 minutes. We'll end it here so that we can get some sleep.
Dang it. I really wanted to spend 3 hours discussing that game.
Yeah, right. So why don't we do the in case you missed it and you want to catch us again, check us out on the YouTube Rewind. Hit the like and the subscribe button, and also have the little bell notification go off when we go live. But if you're a long-time viewer, you know that we go live after every single Sharks game. I don't know why we put up with the abuse, but I guess we're gluttons for punishment at this point. But find us wherever you get your podcasts, on your podcatcher of choice, whether that be on the Apple Podcast Store, the Google Play Store, like I said before, YouTube Rewind, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Odyssey app, and then, of course, always at tealtownusa.com. And Dana, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for getting through this one. I'm going to give you the final thoughts and where the people can find you.
My final thoughts are the trade deadline can't come soon enough, so at least we have something to talk about. And the people can find me at Twitter. It's there. Same on Instagram. Be warned, I do post a lot of Taylor Swift content, so as long as you're cool with that, along with the hockey, enjoy.
Well, what can I say? I traveled all the way out to Rio to see her, so
You did?
I did, and Rio almost kept me.
Yeah. Wait, which night?
Friday.
I can't remember what the surprise songs were.
Oh no, the Friday where the young lady happened to pass away because it was very, very hot. So yeah, I had heat exhaustion, and that was just not a great scene. But I'm okay. I'm here. I'm upright, and I'll keep doing this. And hopefully I'll get to see the Sharks win at some point. But as far as where you can find me, you can use my first name. That's ERIK. My last name, Landy, Landi, across all of the social media garbage. And final thoughts. Look, I continue to echo them over and over and over again, but it's the truth. We just got to work on the fundamentals. Got to get those good habits in. Clean up your own zone first, then think about offense and defensive acumen for the forwards, because right now this defense core needs all the help it can get. Mm-hmm. So for all of us here at Teal Town USA, you know how we close it out. We keep it real, we keep it teal, and we keep it real teal. Have a great night, and we'll see you after the game on Tuesday. All right, ladies and gentlemen, talk to you later.